Imagine waking up one day and realizing you're standing at a crossroads in your life. It's not just a small decision. It feels like a huge divide between the life you've always known and the life you could have. You feel the pull to move forward, to embrace change, but something inside you is holding you back. You know you could take that step. You feel it deep down, but you hesitate. Why? Why, when it's clear that change is not only possible, but necessary, do you feel such a strong resistance? It's like you're stuck in a tug-of-war. One part of you craves growth, transformation, and a life that feels more real and true to who you're becoming. But another part of you, quiet but powerful, is terrified of what that change might bring. It's a painful paradox. You want something new, something freeing, but you cling to what's familiar, even if that familiarity feels suffocating, even if it's slowly draining you. Why is that? Why does the idea of change scare us so much? Why is it easier to stay in a situation that makes us unhappy than to take a leap into the unknown? Why do we resist the very thing that could set us free? You've probably heard the usual advice. Growth is uncomfortable, comfort zones are traps, change is the only constant. But those phrases don't really explain the deep fear you feel when you're on the edge of something new. They don't capture the raw, gut-level terror that keeps you stuck. They don't address the real reason you're afraid. So what's really going on? Is it just fear of risk or uncertainty? Or is there something deeper, something buried within us that makes change feel so impossible? What if the real reason you're afraid to change isn't about the outside world at all? What if it's about what change demands from you? What if, to truly change, you have to face parts of yourself you've been avoiding, parts you've hidden or even forgotten? What if the person you are now, the identity you've built, is more fragile than you think? And what if stepping into a new version of yourself means letting go of that identity entirely? These are tough questions, and the answers aren't easy. But if you want to understand why you're stuck, you have to ask them. What are you really afraid of? What are you running from? The truth is, the stakes are higher than they seem. The fear of change isn't just about losing what's familiar. It's about losing your sense of self, your identity. And when you start questioning that identity, everything you thought you knew about yourself starts to unravel. So what's the real reason you're afraid to change? It's not what you think. Let that sink in. Because when you finally confront what's holding you back, you'll see that your fear isn't just about the unknown. It's about protecting the version of yourself you've always known. And to move forward, you'll have to let go of that version. If you're ready to dig deeper, let's explore this together. Let's figure out why change feels so terrifying and what it takes to finally break free. The fear you feel when facing change isn't just about being scared of the unknown. It goes much deeper, down to the very core of who you are. It's not just fear of the future, but fear of yourself, who you may become, or even more frightening, who you might stop being. At the center of this fear is your ego, the part of you that defines who you are. Your ego is like a story you've created about yourself, a narrative that gives your life meaning and structure. But what happens when that story no longer fits? When change threatens to unravel the identity you've built? You cling to what's familiar because it feels safe. But change forces you to question everything you thought you knew about yourself. Psychologist Carl Jung believed this fear is tied to what he called the shadow, the parts of yourself you've hidden or rejected. The shadow holds everything about you that doesn't fit into the image of who you think you should be. Your flaws, your desires, your potential. When you face change, you're not just dealing with a new situation. You're being forced to confront these hidden parts of yourself. To truly change, you have to integrate these shadow aspects into your identity, which means breaking down the comfortable version of yourself that you've built, and that's terrifying. But why is the shadow so scary? Jung explained that we project our shadow onto others, seeing in them the things we can't accept about ourselves. The fear of change, then, isn't just about the outside world. It's about facing the uncomfortable truths we've buried inside. The person you are now isn't equipped to handle these suppressed parts of yourself, so your ego resists change to protect itself. Philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche also explored this idea. He believed that true growth comes from transcending your current self, breaking free of the limits imposed by society and your own identity. But to do this, you must engage in a process of becoming, which requires destroying parts of who you are now. It requires confronting the realization that the person you are today is not the full expression of the person you could be. Growth requires letting go of old roles, old ways of thinking, and old versions of yourself. It's a process of becoming something new, but it comes at a cost: the destruction of the familiar. Here's the paradox. The desire to grow is also the desire to destroy. To create space for something new, you have to burn away the parts of yourself that no longer serve you. But your ego fights this because its main job is to protect you. It clings to the identity you've built, even if that identity is holding you back, even if it's keeping you stuck in a life that feels stagnant and unfulfilling. So how do you break free from this cycle? How do you escape the prison of your own identity? The answer lies in understanding the true nature of our fears. Philosopher Arthur Schopenhauer believed this fear of change is tied to the suffering that comes with growth. He argued that humans are driven by a blind, irrational will, a will that pushes us to survive, to stay comfortable, and to avoid pain. This will keeps you attached to your current self, even if it's not serving you. Change forces you to confront the discomfort and suffering that comes with growth, and that's something we instinctively try to avoid. But here's the catch. By avoiding the pain of transformation, you also miss out on the joy and freedom that come from becoming something greater. Growth is painful, yes, but it's also liberating. It allows you to shed old layers of yourself and step into a more authentic, fulfilling version of who you are. This brings us to an even deeper idea, the existential crisis at the heart of being human. Philosopher Jean-Paul Sartre believed that we are condemned to be free. We have the freedom to choose who we become, but that freedom comes with a heavy burden. The fear of change isn't just about losing what's familiar. It's about taking full responsibility for your choices and the consequences of those choices. To change means to claim your freedom, and that's terrifying because it forces you to confront the raw truth of your existence. This fear of responsibility, of stepping into the unknown and owning your choices, is what keeps you stuck. It's not just fear of the unknown, it's fear of becoming someone new, and that fear traps you. The more you cling to your current identity, the more you reinforce the limits that hold you back. But the more you resist change, the deeper you sink into the prison of your own making. So what's the cost of staying stuck? What happens when you keep rejecting the very thing that could set you free? To answer that, we need to look at the hidden consequences of this fear and how it silently shapes your life and the world around you. Let's explore that next. At first, the fear of change might seem harmless. You tell yourself it's normal to stay where it's safe, to avoid the messiness and risk of the unknown. You convince yourself that settling for what you have, even if it's far from ideal, is just part of life. But here's the hard truth. This resistance to change isn't harmless. It's quietly shaping your life in ways you don't even realize. The first consequence is how this fear seeps into your daily decisions. You start choosing comfort over growth, routine over possibility, and predictability over the unknown. At first, these choices seem small, sticking with the same job, the same habits, the same relationships, even when you know they're not fulfilling. You tell yourself you're just getting by, but in reality, you're settling for a life of survival, not one of thriving. Over time, these small choices pile up, and before you know it, you've built a life you never truly chose. One day you wake up and realize you've been living on autopilot, just going through the motions. This creates a cycle. The longer you resist change, the more you convince yourself that change is dangerous. You start to believe that avoiding discomfort is the same as avoiding pain. But in truth, you're only delaying the inevitable. The longer you stay stuck, the harder it becomes to imagine anything different. Change starts to feel impossible, and you lose the ability to see beyond your current reality. Psychologically, this resistance creates a conflict within you. You know deep down that change is necessary, but you keep avoiding it. This creates something called cognitive dissonance, a mental tension between what you know you need and what you're actually doing. Over time, this inner conflict grows, leading to anxiety, depression, and a sense of purposelessness. Your mind becomes a battlefield between your desire for growth and your fear of the unknown, and the longer you resist, the louder that battle becomes. But this isn't just an internal struggle. Your fear of change also affects your relationships and how you interact with the world. When you resist transformation, you start to build walls around yourself. You suppress your true desires, passions, and potential to avoid facing the parts of yourself you'd rather ignore. This creates a disconnection, not just from others, but from your own authentic self. You end up just playing a role, one that feels increasingly distant from who you really are. You've probably seen this in others. Maybe you know people who seem bitter or resigned, clinging to outdated versions of themselves because they're too afraid to change. They might say things like, "This is just how life is," or "You can't always get what you want." They've given up on transformation, and in doing so, they reinforce the same limiting beliefs that keep them stuck. Their fear becomes contagious, spreading to those around them. This resistance to change also has social consequences. In a world that constantly demands growth and adaptation, whether in your career, relationships, or personal life, refusing to change locks you into an outdated version of yourself. It becomes harder to connect with people who are evolving, who are open to new experiences, and who are stepping into their own potential. Meanwhile, you remain static, your life shrinking into smaller and smaller circles of familiarity. On a larger scale, this resistance feeds into societal systems that thrive on keeping you in place. Society often rewards stability and predictability, encouraging you to stick to the roles and expectations it has assigned you. These norms, whether about success, relationships, or identity, are designed to keep you from questioning the status quo. By resisting change, you unintentionally reinforce these systems, becoming complicit in your own stagnation. But the cost of staying stuck goes even deeper. Psychiatrist Viktor Frankl called this the existential vacuum, a state of emptiness and meaninglessness. When you resist change, you lose touch with your sense of purpose. Life starts to feel hollow, like you're just going through the motions. Without growth, you lose the spark that makes life feel alive and meaningful. Days blur together, and the world becomes a monotonous routine. It's not just about staying in the same place. It's about losing the essence of what it means to truly live. By avoiding transformation, you deny yourself the richness of life, the excitement of new experiences, the growth that comes from discomfort, and the deep satisfaction of becoming more than what you were. And so you live in quiet desperation, telling yourself that someday you'll change. But the truth is, someday never comes. As long as you resist the call to transformation, you remain trapped by your own fear. The walls around you grow higher until you can't even see the possibility of change anymore. But what if you could break free? What if you could challenge the fear that holds you back and step into the life that's waiting for you? To do that, we need to explore the path to freedom, the rebellion against fear. Let's dive into that next. Imagine standing at the edge of a wide open landscape. For years, you've been stuck in a cage, but the door has always been unlocked. You've had the key all along, yet something has kept you inside. Fear, doubt, or simply the comfort of what's familiar. Now the question is, will you take that first step into the unknown? Breaking free from the fear of change isn't about waiting for the perfect moment when everything feels right. That moment will never come. Instead, it's about choosing to step into the discomfort, even when every part of you wants to stay safe and small. This rebellion against fear is the first step towards reclaiming your life. It's not passive. It's an active, deliberate decision to change how you think, how you live, and how you see the world. But how do you start? The first step is a shift in your mindset. Carl Jung once said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." This is the ultimate act of rebellion, to face the parts of yourself you've ignored or hidden and allow them to come forward. The fear of change often comes from avoiding these parts of yourself, the ones you've buried in the shadows. But what if these parts aren't enemies to fear, but allies to embrace? What if the shadow, the parts of you that don't fit into the image you've created, holds the key to your freedom? Jung believed that true growth requires confronting your shadow. To break free from fear, you must look inward and face the beliefs, habits, and emotions that have kept you stuck. It's not easy. It's messy and uncomfortable. But this is where real transformation begins. Change becomes less scary when you realize it's not something happening to you, but something happening within you. It's a natural evolution of your true self, unfolding one step at a time. But mindset alone isn't enough. The second step is action. Change doesn't happen overnight, and it doesn't happen by waiting for the right time. It happens through small, consistent actions that push you out of your comfort zone. These actions challenge your habits, stretch your limits, and force you to grow. Friedrich Nietzsche said, "He who has a why to live can bear almost any how." To overcome fear, you need to find your why, a reason so meaningful it drives you forward even when the path is unclear. Your why doesn't have to be grand or world-changing. It just needs to matter to you. It could be the desire to live more authentically, to pursue a dream you've buried, or to break free from societal expectations and create a life that feels truly your own. Whatever it is, your why becomes your guiding light, pulling you through the fear and the resistance. Here's the paradox. The more you act in alignment with your why, the less power fear has over you. The key isn't to wait for fear to disappear. It's to move forward despite it. Every small action rewires your brain, teaching it to see the unknown not as a threat, but as an opportunity. Over time, you shift from resisting change to embracing it. History is full of examples of people who've made this leap into the unknown. Viktor Frankl, for instance, endured unimaginable suffering in Nazi concentration camps, but found meaning and purpose even in the darkest moments. He chose to see suffering as a path to growth and transformation. His story shows us that even in the worst circumstances, we can choose how we respond. Frankl's rebellion was a choice to find meaning in the face of fear, a reminder that transformation begins with a shift in perspective. Another example is Aldous Huxley, who challenged conventional views of reality and explored new ways of thinking about human nature and consciousness. Huxley's rebellion was about breaking free from the limits society imposes on us. Like him, your rebellion begins when you dare to question the rules and expectations that have kept you small. These stories remind us that transformation isn't just possible, it's necessary. Change isn't just a personal journey. It's a rebellion against the forces that keep you stuck. It's about reclaiming your power and authenticity. But to do this, you have to stop waiting for permission. You have to stop hoping for the right time and start acting now, even if the steps feel small. But what if you don't know where to begin? What if you're overwhelmed by the scale of the change you want to make? The answer is more simple than you think. Just start small. Take one step, whether it's having a conversation you've been avoiding, making a decision you've been putting off, or changing one small habit in your daily routine. Each small step builds momentum, strengthens your confidence, and brings you closer to the person you were meant to become. In the end, breaking free from the fear of change isn't about eliminating fear. It's about moving forward in spite of it. It's about taking back control of your life one step at a time. This rebellion isn't a one-time event. It's a daily choice to embrace discomfort, uncertainty, and growth. And with each step, the fear becomes smaller, the path becomes clearer, and the life you once thought impossible begins to take shape. Now that you've taken the first steps, the most powerful realization is waiting for you. Let's explore what lies ahead. What if the secret to overcoming your fear of change isn't about defeating fear at all? What if the very thing you've been avoiding, the thing that scares you the most, is actually your key to freedom? The truth is, the breakthrough doesn't come from conquering your fear of change. It comes from realizing that change isn't something to fear. It's something to embrace. Change isn't something that happens to you. It's what you are. What if, at its core, change is the essence of life itself? Resisting change isn't just holding yourself back. It's resisting the natural flow of existence. You've been taught to see change as something dangerous, something to avoid. But the truth is, resisting change is resisting life. You were never meant to stay the same. To live is to grow, to evolve, to let go of the old and make space for the new. This is where true freedom lies, in accepting that transformation is constant. Change isn't a single event or a moment in time. It's always happening. Your body, your thoughts, your relationships, they're all in a constant state of change. The question isn't whether change will happen. It's whether you'll embrace it or fight it. Will you cling to the past, or will you flow with the natural rhythm of life? Right now, you have the power to let go of the familiar. The comfort you've been holding on to isn't really comfort. It's a trap. It's not protecting you. It's keeping you stuck. True freedom doesn't come from avoiding discomfort. It comes from stepping into it. It comes from taking the leap into the unknown. Every step you've taken so far, recognizing your fear, understanding its roots, and rebelling against it, has led you to this moment. The ultimate truth is this: the fear of change is an illusion. It's your mind's way of clinging to what it knows, to what feels safe. But the moment you step into the unknown, you step into possibility. You step into the place where life truly happens. Every great transformation, whether in your own life or in the world, began with someone willing to face the unknown, someone who decided they wouldn't let fear hold them back. Think of the people who've transformed their lives, the ones who broke free from their past, their doubts, and their limitations. They didn't just wait for the perfect moment. They didn't wait for fear to go away. They acted anyway. And in doing so, they discovered new possibilities, not just for themselves, but for everyone around them. They proved that change isn't something to fear. It's the path to your greatest potential. Now it's your turn. The real danger isn't stepping into the unknown. The real danger is staying stuck in a life that doesn't fulfill you. The real risk isn't embracing change. It's refusing to grow. The ultimate realization is this: change isn't something outside of you. It's who you are. It's your nature to grow, to evolve, to become. When you accept this, fear loses its power. It can no longer keep you small or hold you back. You realize that the unknown isn't something to avoid. It's where life begins. So as you stand at the edge of the unknown, the question isn't, how do I overcome my fear? The question is, how do I surrender to what's already happening? How do you give yourself permission to become the person you were always meant to be? The answer lies in stepping into the discomfort, the uncertainty, and the chaos, trusting that on the other side, you'll find clarity, purpose, and the life you've been searching for. In the end, transformation isn't about becoming someone new. It's about shedding the fear, the doubt, and the resistance that have kept you from being who you truly are. The ultimate truth is this: change isn't your enemy. It's your greatest ally. It's the force that moves you forward, that leads you to a life of meaning and authenticity. You are change. And the moment you accept that, you are free. So now we've reached the end of this journey, a journey that began with fear and resistance, but has led to clarity and empowerment. We've confronted the fear of change, unraveled its roots, and discovered the ultimate truth. Change is not something to fear, but something to embrace. It is not an external force acting upon you. It is the very essence of who you are. And now, as you stand at the edge of your own transformation, the fear that once held you back begins to fade into the light of this truth. Change, as you've learned, is the pulse of life itself. Every moment you resist it, you resist the flow of existence. The walls you've built around yourself, walls of comfort, familiarity, and safety, are nothing more than illusions. They may have protected you once, but now they confine you. By embracing the truth that you are change, you are not only breaking free from these walls, but also allowing your true potential to shine in ways you never thought possible. So what lies beyond these walls? What does life look like when you no longer have to fear change, but welcome it as a force that shapes you into the person you were always meant to be? The answer is yours to discover. It's unique to you. But one thing is certain: the moment you embrace the unknown, the moment you accept the discomfort of transformation, you unlock a future filled with possibilities. A future where fear no longer controls you. A future where you are free to grow, to create, and to live fully. Now the choice is yours. You have the knowledge, the awareness, and the understanding to take control of your life in a way you never have before. You can no longer claim ignorance or blame circumstances. The power to change has always been within you. All that's left for you to do is act right now. The first step may feel like the hardest, but it's also the most powerful. It is the step that sets everything else in motion. As you move forward, remember this: you are not alone. Everyone who has ever transformed their life has faced the same fears and the same resistance. They too have stood at the edge of the unknown and chosen to leap into it. They've embraced the discomfort, the uncertainty, and the chaos, and in doing so, they've unlocked lives of greater meaning, authenticity, and purpose. You are no different. Your journey is just beginning, and the possibilities before you are endless. The fear you once felt is nothing more than a shadow, and shadows vanish when confronted with the light. So go forward with courage, step into the unknown, be the change you always feared, and let it guide you into a life of infinite potential. The time to transform is not tomorrow, not someday, it's now. And when you look back on this moment, you'll realize something profound. The fear of change was never the obstacle. It was the gateway, a gateway to your truest self, to the life you were always meant to live. I hope you found these ideas and insights as helpful as I do. Thank you for watching.